Title: Taste of Yesterday. Episode 105, The Flame Rekindled. Follow and subscribe 5-episode thriller for more episodes. The kitchen of the flame buzzed with a rhythm only chaos could perfect. Stainless steel surfaces reflected the harsh overhead lights, and the air hummed with the sizzle of searing meat, the bubble of simmering sauces, and the sharp scent of fresh herbs. Ambrose Casablanca stood at the heart of it, a towering figure in his pristine chef's coat. His dark eyes narrowed as he sampled a spoonful of velouté. "More acidity," he snapped, thrusting the spoon back at his sous chef, a wiry man who flinched under the command. "A touch of lemon zest. Do it right this time." "Yes, chef," the sous chef replied, already moving to obey. Ambrose shifted to the next station, his movements precise, his presence undeniable. He was a perfectionist, a culinary maestro who'd turned the flame into a beacon of fine dining in their small hometown. Plates gleamed under his scrutiny, each dish a testament to his relentless passion. This was his kingdom, and he ruled it with an iron will. As he adjusted the seasoning on a creamy risotto, a flicker of memory brushed his mind. Unwanted, uninvited. Robin Het. It had been years since he'd let her name linger in his thoughts. He crushed the recollection like an overripe tomato, refocusing on the task at hand. Distractions had no place here. Across town, Robin Het clutched the steering wheel of her beat-up sedan, her knuckles pale against the worn leather. The familiar streets of her hometown unfolded before her, the faded marquee of the old movie theater, the rusted swings in the park, the diner where she'd once slung milkshakes. Each sight tugged at her heart, a bittersweet reel of nostalgia and regret. She hadn't meant to come back. Not after she'd left for college, chasing a marketing career that had since crumbled into layoffs and dead ends. But her father's death, a sudden heart attack, had dragged her home to nurse her mother's grief and confront her own. The car rattled as she turned onto her mother's street, the modest house looming ahead, its porch light flickering like a weary sentinel. Robin parked and exhaled, steeling herself. Before she could reach the door, it swung open, and her mother rushed out, arms enveloping her in a desperate hug. "Robin, sweetheart, you're here," her mother whispered, voice thick with emotion. "I'm here, Mom," Robin murmured, holding her tight, feeling the fragility beneath her mother's brave facade. Inside, they settled on the worn couch, the silence heavy with their shared loss. Her mother's eyes were red-rimmed, her hands twisting a tissue into knots. They talked, or tried to, until the truth spilled out. The medical bills had gutted their savings, and the house was at risk. "I can't lose this place, too," her mother said, tears spilling over. "It's all I have left of him." Robin's chest tightened. She had no job, no plan, but she couldn't let her mother drown in this alone. "I'll figure something out, Mom. I promise." An idea sparked, reckless and daunting. Ambrose Casablancas. His restaurant, The Flame, was the town's pride, a culinary gem that drew foodies from miles away. He'd always been a jerk, arrogant, unattainable, but he might need staff. And she needed work. Their history be damned. "Ambrose?" her mother asked, catching the shift in her expression. "Are you sure? After everything?" "It's in the past," Robin said, forcing a smile. "He's my best shot." That evening, Robin stood outside The Flame, smoothing her skirt and tugging at her blouse. The restaurant's sleek exterior, glass walls, and warm lighting screamed sophistication, a world apart from her faded jeans and empty bank account. Her stomach churned. Ambrose wouldn't make this easy. He never did. She pushed through the doors, the dining room unfolding like a scene from a magazine. White tablecloths, crystal glasses, the murmur of well-heeled patrons. Approaching the hostess, a poised woman with a clipboard, Robin squared her shoulders. "Hi, I'm here to see Ambrose Casablancas." The hostess arched a brow. "Do you have an appointment?" "No, but I'm an old friend." Robin Het. "Could you tell him I'm here?" With a skeptical nod, the hostess vanished into the kitchen. Robin shifted on her feet, her pulse racing. When Ambrose emerged, towel in hand, her breath caught. He was taller than she remembered, broader, his jaw sharper beneath a shadow of stubble. But those eyes, piercing, unyielding, were the same. "Robin," he said, his tone flat, betraying nothing. "What do you want?" She swallowed. "A job. I need work, Ambrose. I was hoping you had an opening." He crossed his arms, studying her like she was a dish he'd already deemed subpar. "This isn't a diner. Do you even know fine dining?" "Not really," she admitted, "but I'm a fast learner, and I'm desperate." He sighed, a sound laced with irritation. We've got history, Robin. I don't need that messing up my kitchen. Please, she pressed, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. My mom's in trouble. I have nowhere else to go. For a moment, he said nothing, his gaze locked on hers. Then, reluctantly, he relented. Fine, hostess. Trial basis. Screw up and you're gone. Relief flooded her. Thank you. I won't let you down. Tomorrow, 4 p.m. Don't be late. He turned to leave, but she stopped him. Ambrose? He glanced back, impatient. What? It's good to see you. A flicker, something raw, crossed his face before he masked it, disappearing into the kitchen without a word. The next day, Robin arrived early, her nerves buzzing. At the hostess, a no-nonsense woman named Claire walked her through the basics. Seating charts, reservations, the art of placating demanding guests. It was overwhelming, a whirlwind of names and rules, but Robin clung to her resolve. Her first shift was a trial by fire. A woman in pearls complained about the table's lighting. A man in a suit sent back his water for being too cold. Robin smiled, apologized, adapted. Her feet ached, her head spun, but she kept going. From the kitchen, Ambrose watched through the pass, his arms crossed. She was a mess, fumbling menus, tripping over her words, but the guests warmed to her anyway. That awkward charm of hers, the one that used to drive him crazy, hadn't faded. Neither had the pull he felt, a heat he'd buried years ago. The night stretched on, relentless, until the last patron left. Robin sagged against the hostess stand, exhausted but proud. She'd survived. Ambrose approached, his expression guarded. You did. Okay. She grinned, wiping sweat from her brow. High praise from you. Don't get cocky. Tomorrow's worse. I'll manage, she said, holding his gaze. The air thickened, charged with old promises and new risks. He broke away first, retreating to the kitchen. Go home. Rest. Outside, under the starlit sky, Robin exhaled. This job, this place, it was a lifeline. And Ambrose? He was a complication she couldn't afford to unravel. Not yet. But as she walked to her car, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was shifting. Something dangerous, something alive. Like a flame catching hold. Episode 2 of 5, Tangled Hearts in the Heat of the Night. The dining room of the Flame buzzed with life, a symphony of clinking glasses and soft murmurs weaving through the air. The scent of truffle oil and rosemary hung heavy, a reminder of the culinary magic happening just beyond the swinging kitchen doors. Robin stood at the hostess stand, her fingers trembling slightly as she scanned the reservation list. It was her third night on the job, and the weight of proving herself pressed down harder with every passing minute. A couple approached, exuding wealth and entitlement. The man wore a tailored suit, his posture rigid, while the woman glittered with diamonds that caught the candlelight. Reservation for Harrington, he said, his voice sharp and impatient. Robin plastered on a smile, willing her nerves to settle. Of course, Mr. Harrington. Right this way. She led them to table 12, a coveted spot by the window with a view of the twinkling city lights. As she handed them their menus, the woman's lips pursed. This isn't our usual table. We always sit at table 8. Robin's stomach plummeted. She darted a glance at the reservation notes. Nothing about a specific table. I'm so sorry, ma'am. Let me check if table 8 is available. The woman huffed, folding her arms. It should be. We come here every week. Robin hurried back to the stand, her pulse racing. Table 8 was occupied by a young couple who had just ordered appetizers, their laughter floating over the hum of the restaurant. Moving them now would be a disaster. Swallowing her panic, she returned to the Harringtons. I'm terribly sorry, but table 8 is currently taken. Would you like to wait at the bar until it's free? Mr. Harrington's face flushed crimson. This is unacceptable. Get me the manager. Before Robin could stammer a response, Ambrose materialized beside her, his chef's coat pristine, his presence commanding. His dark eyes flicked over the scene, assessing. Is there a problem here? The Harringtons unleashed their grievances, their voices rising. Ambrose listened, nodding with practiced sympathy, then flashed a disarming smile. I apologize for the oversight. Please, allow me to offer you a complimentary bottle of our finest champagne, and I'll ensure table 8 is reserved for you next time. The couple softened under his charm. Well, that's very kind of you, Chef Casablancas, the woman said, her tone thawing. Ambrose's gaze slid to Robin, sharp and cold as a blade. Robin, escort them to the bar and arrange the champagne. She nodded, her cheeks burning as she led the Harringtons away. His stare lingered on her back, a silent promise of reckoning. After the shift, when the last patrons had trickled out and the restaurant fell into a hushed stillness, Robin lingered at the hostess stand. Her feet throbbed, and her pride stung worse. She knew Ambrose wouldn't let the mistake slide. He emerged from the kitchen, arms crossed, his expression a storm waiting to break. "What the hell was that, Robin?" She straightened, meeting his glare. "I made a mistake. I'm sorry." "Sorry doesn't cut it. The Harringtons are regulars, VIPs. You can't afford to screw up like that." "I know. It won't happen again." He sighed, dragging a hand through his dark hair, a gesture that betrayed his frustration. "You're on thin ice. One more slip, and you're gone." Robin bit her lip, tears pricking her eyes. "I understand." He turned to leave, but she couldn't let it end there. "Ambrose, wait." He paused, half turning. "What?" Episode 3 of 5, The Unspoken Truth. The early morning light filtered through the curtains of Robin's childhood bedroom, casting soft shadows on the faded wallpaper. She lay awake, staring at the ceiling, her mind a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions. It had been a week since her confrontation with Ambrose in the kitchen of the Flame, and the air between them had shifted, charged with something she couldn't quite name. Her mother's voice echoed from downstairs, pulling her from her reverie. "Robin, breakfast is ready." With a sigh, Robin swung her legs out of bed and padded to the kitchen, where her mother was setting out plates of scrambled eggs and toast. The familiar scent of coffee filled the air, grounding her in the present. "Morning, Mom," Robin said, forcing a smile as she slid into her chair. Her mother studied her with a knowing look. "You seem distracted, sweetheart. Is everything all right at the restaurant?" Robin hesitated, unsure how much to reveal. "It's complicated. Ambrose and there's history there, and it's hard to navigate." Her mother nodded, her expression softening. "I remember how close you two were. It's natural for things to be a bit messy after all these years." "Messy is an understatement," Robin muttered, poking at her eggs. "He thought I abandoned him, but I tried to reach out. It's like we're both carrying these old wounds, and they keep reopening." Her mother reached across the table, squeezing her hand. "Maybe it's time to have an honest conversation. Clear the air once and for all." Robin bit her lip, considering. "Maybe. But I'm not sure he's ready to hear it. Or if I am." At the Flame, the lunch rush was in full swing. Robin stood at the hostess stand, her smile practiced and professional as she greeted guests and managed the flow of the dining room. But her mind kept drifting back to Ambrose, to the tension that simmered between them like a pot left too long on the stove. She caught glimpses of him through the pass, his movements precise and commanding as he directed his kitchen staff. There was a raw intensity to him, a passion that bled into every dish he created. It was mesmerizing and infuriating. How could someone so talented be so infuriatingly closed off? As the afternoon wore on, a familiar face entered the restaurant, Lily Casablancas, Ambrose's younger sister. Her blonde hair was pulled into a sleek ponytail, and she wore a tailored blazer that screamed successful businesswoman. Robin's stomach tightened. Lily had always been a wild card, unpredictable and fiercely protective of her brother. "Robin!" Lily exclaimed, her smile bright but her eyes sharp. "I heard you were back in town. How's the job treating you?" Robin forced a casual tone. "It's good. Busy, but good." Lily leaned against the hostess stand, her gaze piercing. "And how's working with Ambrose? I imagine it's interesting." Robin hesitated, choosing her words carefully. "We're managing. It's been a while, so there's some adjustment." Lily's smile didn't reach her eyes. "I'm sure. Just remember, he's been through a lot. Don't mess with his head." The warning hung in the air, unspoken but clear. Robin nodded, her throat tight. "I'm not here to cause trouble, Lily." "Good," Lily said, her tone softening slightly, "because he doesn't need any more heartbreak." Before Robin could respond, Lily turned and sauntered towards the bar, leaving Robin with a knot of unease in her chest. That evening, after the dinner service had wound down, Robin found herself alone in the dining room, wiping down tables and resetting for the next day. The restaurant was eerily quiet, the only sound the soft clink of silverware as she worked. She was lost in thought when the kitchen door swung open, and Ambrose stepped out, his chef's coat unbuttoned, revealing a plain white t-shirt beneath. His hair was tousled, and there was a wariness in his eyes that tugged at her heart. "Still here?" he asked, his voice gruff. Robin shrugged, trying to keep things light. "Just finishing up. You?" He ran a hand through his hair, exhaling sharply. "Couldn't sleep. Figured I'd prep for tomorrow." She watched him for a moment, noting the tension in his shoulders, the way his jaw clenched. "You look like you could use a break." He glanced at her, a flicker of something. Vulnerability, perhaps, crossing his face before he masked it. "I'm fine." Robin set down her cloth, stepping closer. "You don't have to be fine all the time, Ambrose. It's okay to let someone in." He stiffened, his gaze hardening. "I don't need a therapy session, Robin." "That's not what I'm offering," she said softly. "I'm just saying, I'm here. If you want to talk." For a long moment, he said nothing, his eyes searching hers. Then, almost reluctantly, he nodded. "All right, let's talk." They sat at one of the empty tables, the dim lighting casting shadows across their faces. The air between them was thick with unspoken words, years of hurt and misunderstanding. Robin took a deep breath, steeling herself. "I need to know why you never responded to my letters. I wrote to you, Ambrose, dozens of times, but I never heard back." He frowned, confusion etched on his features. "I never got any letters, I swear. But I sent them," she insisted, her voice trembling. "I poured my heart out to you, and it was like shouting into a void." Ambrose leaned forward, his hands clenched on the table. "Robin, I didn't know. If I had, I would have written back. I would have..." He cut himself off, his expression pained. "After you left, I was a mess. I threw myself into cooking, into building this place. It was the only way I could cope." Robin's heart ached at the rawness in his voice. "I'm so sorry. I never meant to hurt you." He shook his head, his eyes meeting hers with an intensity that stole her breath. "It's not your fault. We were kids, caught up in something we didn't understand." She reached across the table, her fingers brushing his. "Maybe we can understand it now." He didn't pull away, his gaze locked on their joined hands. Maybe. The moment stretched, fragile and electric. Then, slowly, he withdrew, standing up. "It's late. You should go home." Robin nodded, disappointment mingling with hope. "Good night, Ambrose." As she walked to her car, the night air cool against her skin, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the brink of something that could either heal them or break them entirely. The next day, Robin arrived at the Flame to find the restaurant in a state of controlled chaos. A food critic from a prestigious magazine was scheduled to visit that evening, and the staff was on high alert. Ambrose was in the kitchen, his focus laser-sharp as he barked orders and tasted dishes. Robin did her best to stay out of the way, managing the front of house with a calm she didn't feel. The tension was palpable, a live wire running through the restaurant. As the critic, a stern-faced woman with a notepad, took her seat, Robin's nerves spiked. This review could make or break the Flame, and she knew how much it meant to Ambrose. The service proceeded flawlessly, each course presented with meticulous care. But as the critic sampled the main dish, a frown creased her brow. She beckoned Robin over. "Excuse me, but this steak is overcooked. I requested medium rare." Robin's stomach dropped. "I'm so sorry, ma'am. I'll have the kitchen fix that immediately." She hurried to the pass, signaling to Ambrose. His face paled as she relayed the message. "Damn it," he muttered, his hands shaking slightly as he plated a new steak. The rest of the meal passed without incident, but the damage was done. When the critic left, her expression unreadable, Ambrose retreated to his office, slamming the door behind him. Robin hesitated, then followed, knocking softly. "Ambrose? Can I come in?" There was a pause, then a gruff, "Fine." She entered to find him slumped in his chair, his head in his hands. "I blew it," he said, his voice hollow. "One mistake, and it's all over." Robin knelt beside him, her heart aching. "It's not over. You're an incredible chef, Ambrose. One overcooked steak doesn't define you." He looked at her, his eyes raw with vulnerability. "But it might define this place. Everything I've worked for." She took his hand, squeezing gently. "You're not alone in this. We'll get through it together." For a moment, he leaned into her touch, his defenses crumbling. Then, with a shaky breath, he straightened. "Thank you, Robin. I don't know what I'd do without you." The words hung between them, heavy with meaning. Robin's pulse quickened, but before she could respond, he stood, his mask slipping back into place. "I should get back to the kitchen." As he left, Robin remained, her mind reeling. The walls between them were thinning, but the path ahead was still fraught with uncertainty. That night, as Robin lay in bed, her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Curiosity piqued. She opened it. "Meet me at the old oak tree. Midnight." Her breath caught. The old oak tree had been their secret spot as teenagers, a place where they'd shared dreams and stolen kisses. Why was he asking her to meet there now? With a mix of trepidation and anticipation, she slipped out of the house and drove to the outskirts of town. The oak tree stood tall and ancient, its branches swaying gently in the night breeze. Ambrose was already there, leaning against the trunk, his expression unreadable in the moonlight. As she approached, he straightened, his eyes locking onto hers. "I couldn't sleep," he said, his voice low. "I kept thinking about us, about what we could have been." Robin's heart pounded. "And what do you think now?" He stepped closer, his hand reaching out to tuck a strand of hair behind her ear. I think I've been a fool. I've spent so long pushing you away, but the truth is I never stopped caring." Tears pricked her eyes as she leaned into his touch. Neither did I. Their lips met in a kiss that was both tender and desperate, a release of years of pent-up longing. The world around them faded, leaving only the two of them, wrapped in the warmth of the moment. When they finally pulled apart, breathless and dazed, Ambrose rested his forehead against hers. "I don't know where this goes, Robin, but I want to find out." She smiled, her heart full. Me too. As they stood there under the canopy of stars, it felt like the beginning of something new, something fragile but undeniably real. But in the back of her mind, Robin couldn't shake the feeling that their past wasn't done with them yet. There were still truths to uncover, wounds to heal, and she knew that the road ahead wouldn't be easy. For now, though, she let herself savor the moment, the promise of what could be. Episode 4 of 5, The Shadow of Doubt. The morning sun streamed through the windows of Robin's bedroom, casting a warm glow on the rumpled sheets. She lay awake, her mind replaying the events of the previous night. The kiss under the old oak tree had been a turning point, a moment of raw honesty that left her both exhilarated and terrified. Ambrose's words echoed in her ears. "I want to find out." But what did that mean for them? Were they ready to confront the ghosts of their past? Downstairs, her mother was already bustling in the kitchen, the aroma of freshly baked muffins wafting up the stairs. Robin smiled to herself, grateful for the small comforts of home. As she descended the stairs, her mother's cheerful voice greeted her. "Good morning, sweetheart. I made your favorite, blueberry muffins." Robin hugged her mother, the warmth of the embrace grounding her. "Thanks, Mom. You didn't have to." Her mother waved a hand dismissively. "Nonsense. It's the least I can do. Now sit down and tell me about your night. You came in late." Robin hesitated, unsure how much to share. "I met up with Ambrose. We talked." Her mother's eyebrows shot up. "Talked, huh? Is that all?" A blush crept up Robin's cheeks. "Well, maybe a little more than talked." Her mother chuckled, her eyes twinkling with amusement. "I see. Be careful, Robin. Ambrose is a complicated man." "I know," Robin sighed, picking at a muffin. "But there's something there, Mom. Something worth exploring." Her mother nodded thoughtfully. "Just remember to protect your heart. You've both been through a lot." At the Flame, the atmosphere was tense. The Food Critics Review had been published, and while it praised the restaurant's ambiance and service, it criticized the inconsistency in the kitchen. Ambrose was furious, his temper flaring as he berated the staff for their mistakes. Robin watched from the hostess stand, her heart sinking. She knew how much the restaurant meant to him, how he poured his soul into every dish. But the pressure was taking its toll, and she feared it would drive a wedge between them. During a lull in the lunch service, she approached him in the kitchen, her steps tentative. "Ambrose, can we talk?" He looked up from his prep station, his expression guarded. "What is it?" She took a deep breath. "I know you're upset about the review, but taking it out on the staff isn't helping." His jaw tightened. "They need to do better. I can't afford another slip-up." "I understand that," she said gently, "but maybe there's a better way to motivate them. They're doing their best." He slammed a knife down on the counter, his eyes flashing. "Their best isn't good enough. This is my life, Robin. My reputation." She flinched at his tone, but stood her ground. "I know, but you're not alone in this. We're a team. He stared at her for a long moment, his anger slowly giving way to something softer. "You're right. I'm sorry." Robin reached out, touching his arm. "It's okay. We'll get through this together." He nodded, his hand covering hers briefly before he turned back to his work. "Thanks, Robin." That evening, as the restaurant closed, Ambrose invited Robin to stay for a drink. They sat at the bar, the dim lighting creating an intimate atmosphere. He poured them each a glass of red wine, his movements deliberate. "To surviving another day," he toasted, clinking his glass against hers. Robin smiled, taking a sip, "and to new beginnings." They drank in companionable silence for a moment before Ambrose spoke again. "I want to apologize for earlier. I shouldn't have snapped at you." "It's all right," she said. "I know you're under a lot of pressure." He shook his head. "That's no excuse. You've been nothing but supportive, and I appreciate that." Robin felt a warmth spread through her chest. "I'm just glad I can help." He looked at her, his gaze intense. "You do more than help, Robin. You make me want to be better." Her breath caught, the air between them thickening. Before she could respond, the door to the restaurant swung open, and Lily strode in, her heels clicking on the floor. "Ambrose, we need to talk," she said, her tone urgent. Ambrose sighed, setting down his glass. "Can it wait, Lily? I'm in the middle of something." Lily's eyes flicked to Robin, narrowing slightly. "No, it can't. It's about the restaurant." Robin stood, sensing the tension. "I should go. I'll see you tomorrow, Ambrose." He nodded, his expression conflicted. "Good night, Robin." As she left, she couldn't help but overhear Lily's voice, sharp and insistent. "You need to focus, Ambrose. This thing with Robin, it's a distraction you can't afford." Robin's heart sank. Was Lily right? Was she a distraction, a complication in Ambrose's already chaotic life? The next day, Robin arrived at the Flame to find the staff in a flurry of activity. A last-minute booking for a large party had thrown the schedule into disarray, and Ambrose was nowhere to be seen. "Where's the chef?" Robin asked Claire, the sous chef. Claire shrugged, her hands busy chopping vegetables. "He had to step out. Something about a family emergency." Robin's stomach churned with worry. She hoped everything was all right. As the day progressed, the restaurant managed to pull together, serving the large party with only minor hiccups. But Ambrose's absence was palpable, a void that couldn't be filled. When he finally returned just before the dinner service, he looked haggard, his eyes shadowed with fatigue. "Ambrose, are you okay?" Robin asked, concern etched on her face. He forced a smile. "Yeah, just family stuff. Nothing to worry about." But she could see the strain in his posture, the way his hands trembled slightly as he tied his apron. "If you need to talk, I'm here." He nodded, his gaze softening. "Thanks, Robin. Maybe later." After the last guest had left, Ambrose approached her, his expression serious. "Can we go for a walk? I need some air." Robin agreed, and they stepped out into the cool night, the stars twinkling overhead. Finally, Ambrose spoke. "Lily came to see me today. She's worried about the restaurant, about me." Robin nodded, her heart pounding. "I overheard part of your conversation last night. She thinks I'm a distraction." He stopped, turning to face her. "You are a distraction, Robin, but not in the way she thinks." She frowned, confusion clouding her features. "What do you mean?" He took a deep breath, his eyes searching hers. "You make me feel things I haven't felt in years. You make me question everything I've built, everything I thought I wanted." Robin's pulse quickened. "And is that a bad thing?" "I don't know," he admitted, his voice raw. "Part of me wants to dive in, to see where this goes, but another part is terrified of losing control, of getting hurt again." She reached out, taking his hand. "I understand. I'm scared too, but maybe we can figure it out together." He squeezed her hand, his thumb brushing over her knuckles. Maybe. They stood there, under the canopy of stars. For a moment, it felt like anything was possible. The following week brought a new challenge. A rival restaurant opened across town, drawing attention and customers away from the Flame. Ambrose was on edge, his temper fraying as the pressure mounted. Robin did her best to support him, but she could feel the distance growing between them. One night, after a particularly grueling shift, Robin found him in the kitchen, staring blankly at a recipe book. "Ambrose," she said softly, approaching him. "You need to rest. You're going to burn out." He shook his head, his eyes weary. "I can't. There's too much to do." She placed a hand on his arm, her touch gentle. "You can't do it all alone." Let me help. He looked at her, his defenses crumbling. I'm sorry, Robin. I've been distant. It's just, everything feels like it's slipping through my fingers. She wrapped her arms around him, holding him close. You're not alone. I'm here. But as they pulled apart, Robin saw a flicker of something in his eyes, fear perhaps, or regret. What is it? She asked. He hesitated, then shook his head. Nothing. Let's get some sleep. Robin nodded, but the unease lingered. The next morning, Robin received a call from her mother. Sweetheart, I need you to come home. There's something we need to discuss. Robin's heart sank. Is everything okay? Just come home, her mother said, her voice tight. When Robin arrived, she found her mother sitting at the kitchen table, a stack of papers in front of her. These are the medical bills from your father's treatment. We're in trouble. The house is at risk. Robin felt a wave of panic wash over her. I'll figure something out, Mom. I promise. That evening, back at the Flame, Ambrose approached her, serious. Robin, we need to talk. He took a deep breath. I think we need to take a step back. Robin's world tilted. What do you mean? Maybe Lily was right. Maybe this is too much, too soon. Tears pricked her eyes. So you're just going to push me away after everything? He shook his head. I care about you. That's why I'm doing this. She stood, her chair scraping against the floor. Fine, if that's what you want. Robin ended up at the old oak tree, their place. She sat in silence until she heard footsteps. Ambrose, I couldn't let you leave like that, he said. Then why did you say those things? Because I'm scared of losing you again. You don't have to be scared. We can face our fears together. Do you really believe that? Yes, I do. He pulled her into his arms. I'm sorry. I don't want to lose you. You won't. I'm not going anywhere. They stood there, the shadows of doubt slowly receding. But Robin knew. The journey wasn't over. Episode 5 of 5, The Decision. It was a quiet afternoon at the Flame, the kind of stillness that settled over the restaurant between the lunch rush and the dinner preparations. Robin stood at the hostess stand, her fingers absently smoothing the edges of a stack of menus. The hum of the kitchen, a symphony of clattering pans and Ambrose's sharp commands, drifted through the air, grounding her in the present. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, a soft vibration against her hip. She pulled it out, expecting a mundane update from her mother or a playful text from Ambrose. Instead, the screen glowed with an email notification. Shh. Job offer. Marketing specialist at Prestige Agency. Her breath caught in her throat. Prestige Agency was a titan in New York City's marketing world, a name she'd whispered to herself during late nights of job applications after her father's death had upended her life. She tapped the email open, her pulse quickening as she scanned the details. A salary that could erase her mother's debts in months, a corner office in a skyscraper, a chance to reclaim the career she'd lost. Her hands trembled slightly, the phone's weight suddenly heavy in her grip. It was everything she'd prayed for, yet the timing felt like a cruel twist of fate. She glanced toward the kitchen. Ambrose stood at the stove, his dark hair falling into his eyes as he adjusted a flame with surgical precision. He caught her gaze and flashed a rare, unguarded smile, the kind that softened the hard lines of his face and made her heart ache with something she couldn't quite name. Could she leave him now, just when they'd begun to unravel the tangle of their past? The question gnawed at her as she slipped outside to call her mother. Leaning against the brick wall near the back entrance, she dialed the familiar number. Mom, I got a job offer, she said, her voice steady despite the storm brewing inside her. It's in New York. Great pay, great company. It could fix everything. Her mother's voice lit up with excitement. Robin, that's incredible. You have to take it. It's the fresh start you need. But what about Ambrose? Robin asked, her throat tightening. We're finally, I don't know, figuring things out. A pause stretched across the line. Sweetheart, I know you care about him, her mother said gently, but you've got to think about your future. Our future. The house, the bills. Ambrose will understand. Robin ended the call with a promise to consider it, but her mother's words only deepened her turmoil. Duty pulled her toward New York. Love anchored her here. She returned to her post, her smile mechanical as she greeted guests, her mind a battlefield of what-ifs. As the evening wore on, Ambrose emerged from the kitchen, wiping his hands on a towel. Hey, you okay? He asked, his brow furrowing with concern. Yeah, just family stuff, she lied, forcing brightness into her tone. He studied her, his green eyes piercing through her facade, but he didn't press. Good, because I've got a surprise for you. Stay after closing? Her heart lifted despite herself. I'd love to. When the last patron left and the staff trickled out, Ambrose dimmed the dining room lights, casting the space in a warm, intimate glow. He led her to a corner table, where candles flickered atop a crisp white cloth, their flames dancing in time with her uneven breaths. A bouquet of lilies, her favorite, sat in a vase, their sweet scent mingling with the lingering aroma of roasted garlic from the kitchen. He poured 2 glasses of red wine, the liquid catching the light like spilled rubies. This is beautiful, Ambrose, she said, genuinely touched. He shrugged, a shy smile tugging at his lips. You deserve it. You've been holding this place together, and I don't tell you that enough. They clinked glasses, the wine's rich flavor coating her tongue, but it did little to ease the knot in her chest. She had to tell him about the job offer. It was now or never. She opened her mouth, the words forming, when a deafening bang erupted from the kitchen, followed by panicked shouts and the hiss of water. Ambrose's face paled. What the hell? They bolted to the kitchen, where chaos reigned. A pipe had burst, spraying water in wild arcs across the room. The tiled floor was a shallow lake, pots and pans bobbing like lost ships. The staff scrambled, slipping and cursing as they tried to contain the deluge. Main valve! Now! Ambrose barked, diving under the sink with a wrench. Robin grabbed a stack of towels from a shelf, tossing them to the floor to soak up the flood. She found a bucket and thrust it into a sous chef's hands, directing another to fetch more. Her shoes squelched as she moved, adrenaline sharpening her focus. Together, she and Ambrose wrestled the valve shut, the water slowing to a trickle, then stopping entirely. Breathing hard, they surveyed the wreckage. Well, that's one way to end the night, Ambrose muttered, running a hand through his soaked hair. Robin managed a laugh, but it faded as her foot struck something solid beneath the sink. She bent down, pulling a small rusted metal box from a loosened wall panel. What's this? Ambrose crouched beside her, prying it open with a screwdriver. Inside lay a stack of envelopes, their edges yellowed and brittle. He lifted one, his breath hitching as he read the address in her familiar looping script. Robin, these are your letters. Her stomach dropped. The ones I sent you? But how? They sat amidst the damp chaos, the box between them, and began to read. The first letter was dated 10 years ago, written in the shaky hand of an 18-year-old Robin. Dear Ambrose, I miss you already. The city's so loud, so different from home. I keep replaying our last night under the oak tree. I wish I could hold on to it forever. I love you. Please write back. Yours, Robin. Ambrose's voice broke as he read, his eyes glistening. I never saw this. She pulled out another, this one a year later. Ambrose. Why haven't you answered? I've written so many times. Did I ruin us? Please, just tell me you're okay. I think about you every day. The pain in her words pierced her anew, and she saw it reflected in Ambrose's face. They read on. Each letter a shard of their fractured past, hopeful beginnings giving way to confusion, then resignation. The final one was short, its ink smudged with what might have been tears. Ambrose, this is goodbye. I can't keep waiting for nothing. I hope you're happy. Robin. He set it down, his hands trembling. You thought I didn't care. I thought I'd lost you, she whispered, tears spilling over. He shook his head, pulling her close. Lily must have hidden them. She thought she was protecting me after everything. Robin nodded, the pieces clicking into place. Lily's fierce loyalty had always bordered on suffocation. They sat in silence, the letters a bridge across the years they'd lost. Finally, Robin took a shaky breath. Ambrose, there's something else. I got a job offer today, in New York. It's a dream job, money to help my mom, but his gaze locked onto hers, steady and searching. But you're scared to leave. Yes, she admitted. I don't want to lose you again. He took her hands, his calloused fingers warm against her skin. Robin, I love you. I've loved you since we were kids sneaking out to that damn tree. If this job is your future, I'll support you, long distance, whatever it takes. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't want you here. His honesty broke something open inside her. She thought of New York's glittering promise, her mother's hopeful voice, the weight of responsibility. Then she thought of Ambrose, his quiet strength, the way he'd fought for her trust, the home they'd begun to build in these stolen moments. "I love you too," she said, her voice firm. "And that's why I'm staying. My future's with you." Relief flooded his features, and he kissed her, fierce and tender, tasting of salt and wine. When they parted, he pressed his forehead to hers. "Thank you." Later, after mopping the kitchen and locking up, Ambrose suggested a walk. The night was cool, the town hushed under a blanket of stars. Their steps led them to the old oak tree, its gnarled branches a silent witness to their history. "Remember carving our initials?" he asked, tracing the faded marks. She smiled. "We thought we were invincible." He pulled her close. "Maybe we are." They sat beneath the tree, talking until dawn. Dreams of expanding the flame, her ideas for community outreach, a life woven together. As the sky lightened, they walked home hand in hand, ready for whatever lay ahead. Follow and subscribe 5-episode thriller for more interesting stories.